Lynn Switnowski. I'm very excited to be here today with all of you at the show. And I'm just going to take a wild guess here that this is a topic of interest to all of you because it's 8:15 on a Sunday morning, first day of the show. So apparently the right topic is the right thing we started with here. The good news is I have some help for you. Oh, I can't solve all your problems right here, but I promise you we're going to give you lots of tips. Remind me, if you see me, you can tell, I like to be amongst the people here. Don't let me wander to the sides, because that man over there will be mean to me, the noise will go off, so just make me stay close to the center. I set my alarm so that we have plenty of time for questions, so don't worry about that. And let's go. How about that? I'm going to tell you this. I want you to have a copy of this presentation because I want you to have reference. You're here in the morning. I don't care if you videotape it. I think they're videotaping it here. But whatever you need, I want you to get a copy of it. I want you to have tips. So either leave me your card at the end, email me. We got some modern approaches. I see a lot of phones taking pictures. That's a good way to do it. I like it. But the key is, let's get you some information. I'm going to ask a trick question. Do any of you here have the right amount of inventory in your store? Okay, just to be clear, that was a trick question, not for all of you, but for people who shall remain nameless in my audience, who I am managing their inventory for them. And they should have raised their hand. So, there, thank you. So it's not, can you tell them it's not impossible? No. Okay, great. So, exactly. So for those of you who say it's impossible, I just have to carry this much, you do not. We're going to talk today about why. Oh, that's me. So I've been doing this for a very long time. I've been on your side of the business. I was a buyer at a major department store. Then I moved over to the wholesale side and have been working with small independent businesses. And excited to say, know your industry very well. Have a lot of clients in this field. I know that you have to carry sizes 30 to 46 and A to J. I know you have fashion. I know you have basics. I also know you're all excited to go see the pretty things out there. Okay? How many of you came with a budget? Not enough of you. Not enough of you. And I don't know who you are, but yay for those of you that didn't have one. All right, so that was not a trick question, but I'm going to guess that maybe the pretty things get to you prior to the budget. We can buy just as many of those pretty things as fit into the plan. So I don't want you to not have the pretty things. I want you to have the right pretty things, and then the right basic things that aren't as pretty that you guys all hate, but that your customers love. Do you not think I don't know you? I know you. Oh my God, I have to have this gorgeous lace cup bra, but I really feel the basics and I don't want to talk about them, I don't want to market them, I don't want to put them on my merchandise them. So I walked last night, funny story, I didn't get to add it to the presentation, but I was walking downtown and I happened to pass, is anyone here from Rigby and Pelican? So I happened to pass that store and they had the most gorgeous, and I'm going to use the word, they call it classics, I call it core, some of you call it basic bra. Merchandise display, black and cafe latte. It can be done. It was very pretty. So, just saying. Pretty bras, yes. Basic bras that pay the bills, yes. Let's figure out how much of each. Deal? I'm going to say to you, none of your stores look like this, I'm sure. Because you just finished your sale, so you've gotten rid of all that. I met someone who hadn't started their sale yet, so. The session title here is Inventory is Not Fine Wine. It does not get better with age. And I can already spew the words for you. Somebody will buy it. Yes, they will. At some point, too. It's like I'm talking to you, right? I know everything that you guys think. I'm telling you, I know you. Somebody will buy it at some point. I paid X for it. I can't sell it for any less than that. The problem is, you've already paid for it. It is sitting on that rack, paid for, out of your bank account. So if you wait 2 years to get your money back, I think many of you would say that's not a good deal, right? In your personal life, How will you turn that conversation into your professional life? I promise you, this is not retailer against. I want you to have all the pretty things. I want you to walk around the show. I just want you to have a plan so that you don't end up paying for stuff that doesn't sell. Because what they will also tell you, they're going to continue to show you 2, 3 collections a year, right? You got round 1, you got round 2, spring and summer and fall. They want you to buy goods 12 months a year. So the idea of front loading, bringing it in, having it sit there, not being able to sell it because it's too much at the same time, you just have to flow it a little differently. Okay? So let's figure out what's causing you pain. And if I do not get to your specific pain point, I'm going general here because it only gave me 45 minutes. I could talk on this subject all day. My dad was an accountant. I actually like to do this. That's crazy too. But we're going to leave time for questions and let's answer it because probably somebody in the room has the same question. Deal? All right. So here's what happens, right? You tie up your cash. And if you ask any of my clients who I manage their inventory, it's like I want to be your banker. I want to leave more money in the bank so you can do whatever you want with it. So you can take the days off, you can give your staff more money, you can hire somebody new, you can retire. As opposed to sitting on your shelf unsold, already paid for. So, none of your stores look like this, I know, right? Look at, now see it, good for you, that's, exactly. However, these are some warning signs, right? Any of you, don't raise your hands, these are rhetorical questions. Nobody has a box in the back that's packed away because it will come out again. We all know it never looks as good, right? It's not coming back. Shoulder pads are not coming back the same way. Yellow is not coming back as the same color story. It will be forever. Once it's out of season, it doesn't live again. So, do you know right now, today, how much inventory you have on hand at retail? Great. If you do, is that number the next 3 months in sales? Ladies, that's the benchmark. We'll get there, gentlemen. I don't want to leave you out. Maybe 4 months in basics, maybe 12 weeks, 10 weeks. So that's the key, right? We have to figure out, if you know how much retail, do you know your 10 to 20 best-selling items, bras, whatever they are, bras, sleepwear? Do you have 10 to 12 weeks of supply of those? That's the key right there. It's not just, somebody's got 30. So it's the best of the best, maximizing those sales. And it is the other stuff that is pretty and beautiful that we want to have just enough of to get in and out of. Okay? So 3 to 5 times annually. If I'm just starting to work with you in this industry, I want you to turn your inventory 3 times. Which means take your annual sales, divide by 3, and that's how much average stock you should have. 5 times, same annual sales, divide by 5. That's how much average stock. In what I would call basic bras, you should be able to turn 10 times, almost once a month. Now that's maybe after we've been working together for a year or 2, but it is possible. You have a ton of resources out here that will ship you goods. How many times a week, if you ask them? Every day, exactly. So the key is, do you have a plan? Do you order from them on a regular basis? Do you have model stocks from them? Because they will hold your inventory. Essentially, they will be your warehouse. So how much do you have of that? How do you take advantage of that? Let's be clear, I promise you, throughout this entire conversation, I do not want you to think for 1 minute. I want you to have every single piece of merchandise that you need to make every sale and actually exceed the sales plan. So it's not a punitive thing, it's not cut back just to cut back. It's cut back, and I heard from a couple people before we started. It's to put the right dollars into the right categories. And before I get into this, let me give you one tip if you want to just sort of assess where your inventory is. before we're done, I will tell you this, I will do this for you if you haven't already done it. We'll connect. I'll do an assessment. But a quick assessment would be to take the stock that you have at retail, by department, by category, whatever you call it, and then take the sales that occur in those categories. They should be within 2 to 3% of each other. And by that I mean basic bras does 30% of your sales. You might have 27% of your inventory in that category. That's what I mean. However, things like accessories that you need for all the reasons we know, I've heard them all. But if you have 5% of your stock in accessories and it's doing 2% of your sales, that's a problem, right? You're overstocked. So a quick stock to sales analysis will give you a very high level picture, sort of where you're heavy, where you're light. And frankly, from a fiscal perspective, if you want to improve your inventory performance, start there. Start in the biggest categories and then work back. I used accessories. Yes, do I not want you to have too much accessories? I want you to have all the accessories you need and sell. I want you to have all the hosiery, we sell that. You have swim, everything. It's just a question of what's the right balance. So if I could get you to think about your inventory and your sales in what I would call 3 phases. You are here at a buying show. That is the first phase, right? And you all see these pretty things. But for those of you that came with a plan, that's that pre-buying phase. How much should I have? What kind of budget do I need in each category? What should I spend money on? So pre-buying. At the same time going on, people are back in your stores unless you've closed them and you are selling merchandise. So there is a function of what's going on with sales. I did all this, in a perfect world, I did all this research. I determined how much merchandise I wanted to buy, how much I needed. I have a plan. I buy that. Now the second phase, the selling phase, we execute the plan. But here's what happens. You know the expression, the best laid plans of mice and men, right? The plan is the plan. There's a way to maximize sales. We'll talk about marketing. It's a conversation you can't have inventory management without talking about marketing. However, it did work, let's get more. It didn't work, now we move on to this phase where it pains all of you, that liquidation phase. And you should see your faces right now. You're like, oh my God, I don't know this woman personally, but she's gonna be my best friend. She just said she loves liquidation. I need you all to, yes, you should all love getting rid of it. And by the way, I used to work for a company called Liz Claiborne, tell you how old I am. And our designers would be like, oh no, we're gonna go shop New York, we're gonna go shop LA. I'm like, no, you need to go shop Iowa, Michigan, Indiana, because that's really where, Toronto, but you need to shop where people live and not like here, which are the extremes, right? And the thing is, if it doesn't sell there, I want you to have, like I said, if the new color of the season, when I set up inventory, I call it fashion bras. I want you to tell your customers that there's a ready-to-wear trend and that the bras are colored to sort of go with that, right? And because I want them to come in every 3 months and see the new stuff. But if it doesn't work, you've got to fish and cut bait. Like, you got to figure out a plan. So the last phase we're going to talk about is how do you get out of it so that you can come here and buy more. Deal? So if you started thinking, and by the way, right now every single one of you has all 3 of those phases going on at one time. The question is, how much do you have in each bucket? So how much of your inventory is what I would call current, and how much of your inventory is, let's just use the word post-current. How about that? Is that polite? Aged, yes. Post-current sounds more PC, don't you think? PC, post-current. And is it, now that you have this model, right? 12 weeks turning, right? Think about it. If you turn 4 times a year, somebody called me the other day and said, hey, can you tell me how many times in your business? They're like, there's a forum going on. You guys have secret conversations. How many times? What should I sell through? I gave her the number, and I'll give it to those of you that apparently maybe some of you were in the forum. If yours to sell your merchandise every 12 weeks, right, 12 to 14 weeks, that's the turn. You buy round 1, then round 2 comes in, that's 12 to 13 weeks away. So in a perfect world, a fashion collection should sell through at what percent? You got 10 pieces on stock. How many should you sell through in 12 weeks? Oh my God. Love this woman. I love your enthusiasm. 80 is the benchmark. 100 is you didn't buy enough. I want you to sell 80, you'll make money at 80. And people were, she writes me back, she's like, no way. I'm like, yes way. Okay? So, pre-buying, selling, liquidating. Inventory. I know you're all wine drinkers or beer drinkers or liquor drinkers. It's not fine wine. It does not get better with age. So let's talk about this pre-buying phase. All right? So you're at a trade show. In a perfect world, you understand what's the plan. You're looking at spring 2020. I just finished for every single one of my clients a 2020 annual sales and purchase plan. Because we have to think about the future to come here and buy for that. What kind of growth do you want for the year? What areas do you think you can expand on? You want to add a new category to your business. Those are the things that you should be thinking about. At the same time, you just finished spring 2019. What worked? What vendors worked? What categories worked? What do you want to push for next year? What didn't work? Conversely, I tried new vendors, they didn't work. I have the same vendors that I have had for years and they had a terrible shipping spring, therefore we had a bad season with them. Or my customer sizing is moving, so therefore something that was very good because it worked with small boob, and now my customers are getting larger and its sales are going down in that category. This analysis of what happened in historical version, right now while it's still fresh, and what I want to happen next year because I'm anticipating is the mindset you should be shopping with. If you are not there today, that's fine. Go look at all those things, but then go home and do some analysis and understand what worked, what didn't work. Okay? Again, am I doing an expansion? Am I opening a second store? Am I downsizing and moving to a smaller space? All of that conversation about big growth, cutback, expansion, wherever you are, is that pre-buying phase. Because that will help you to hone the merchandise selection going forward. I have one of my clients and we are shifting, not that we're walking away from fashion bras, but we're gonna maximize for classic, basic. I just use the word basic and you should see your faces. You're like, yeah, I know. Dread. Awful. Money in the bank, hardly marked down, turn very fast. I need to get you to love them. Okay? And again, while you're here, there's probably resources that you want to see, that you've seen this, that you're seeing here at the show for the first time, and you want to add them to your assortment. Okay. They're new to your store. Therefore, you need to add future growth. Or are you taking it away from someone? Instead of walking up and down these aisles and saying, oh, I'm going to add this vendor, I'm going to add this vendor. I want you to add all the new stuff you want. But how do you assess and say, what is really working? Why is this a void in my assortment? Why do I want to add it? Yeah, I'm talking to you. Doesn't mean that because I work with them, they don't still want to buy all the pretty bras. We just buy less. We buy the right amount, I should say. So this pre-buying phase, right? Your top 5 to 6 classifications, and I don't know how you do yours, but in my world, I'll do the bra categories we use. So we have a basic bra category. Do you have basic bras broken out in your classification? That is a really good way of doing it, right? Fashion bras, maybe it's by size, whether it's large fashion, whether it's, small fashion, okay? And then maybe there is a bralette category these days. Maybe there is a strapless bra category. Think about what are your core. Here's the key. If you break it down too much, then you end up focusing on, you're like, oh God, I gotta write those orders. And that's fine, except it's 2% of your sales. So break it down in the categories that 5 to 6 categories should drive 70 to 80% of your total sales. If you have 20 categories, 20 departments, that's too many. Call them down, put them in sub-departments, right, under your categories. But Your businesses, if you run a $500,000 business, a $5 million, or a $50 million business, it can fit in 10, 11 categories, max. And that being said, 5 to 6 should be a decent chunk of that. Because I guarantee you, if you go back and add up the total sales volume from those top 20 items I was talking about, they're going to drive way more sales as a percent than you probably realize. So if 20 items drive 30% of your total sales, you know what I mean? You don't need 20 categories to drive the other. So focus on, like I said, no more than 10. Anybody here have less than 5? Good. See, that's good. Because if you have too few, then that means you're not breaking it out. But if you have just one bra category, that might be too few. Basic bra, fashion bra, right? Other bras, strapless bras, swim. So, and again, focus on a process. You should be thinking about planning sales by those departments, planning purchases by those departments, planning markdowns by those departments, planning markup by those departments. Okay? All of those things are components that lead to gross profit at the end of the day, cost of goods sold. And all of those have levers that you can move up and down. Okay? I guarantee you, among all of you, you have great relationships with your vendors. If you were to put a plan together with some of those core vendors and say, hey, this is how I want to grow your business. This is what kind of support, you know what I mean? I'm looking for it from you. This is what kind of sales I think I'm going to deliver. This is what kind of purchases that will mean for me. And this is an increase over last year, whatever. The more you lay it out for them and collaborate with them, you have a group of people here, I think, that really can and do want to work with you. You just got to figure that out and lay that out for them. So again, sales, purchases, by department, by month. Okay? This true story, the reason I went into my own business is for this one particular slide. I have worked for very, very large companies. That's not to boast or brag, that's to tell you that I know what very large manufacturing companies give to very large retailers. Okay? And I want you, I do not care, use my name. I went to this seminar this morning and this woman said I could ask for this. Fine. Okay? Like, you need to manage your vendors. And by that I mean a purchase order is a contract. Do you all pay your bills? Right. You pay your bills, you're living up to your end of the contract. The purchase order is the vendor's responsibility to get to you. So your job is to manage that purchase order and put a start and cancel date on that. If you don't think it can be done, I want you to talk to some of my clients. It can be done in this industry, and it does work. Thank you. There's my markdown queen. She start and cancel dates, right? Percent ship. If you pay for shipping on any orders, I want a minimum fill of ... Because if you don't, you will get eaten alive by shipping costs, right? They'll ship you 2-3 times on a purchase order. So, do not ship past this cancel date without notifying me. I am not telling you to be mean. I'm telling you, you take the process back. You tell them, I am watching my orders. You cannot just ship me willy-nilly. Here's why. The people that put start and cancel dates in this room have better ship and fill rates than the people that don't. It is 1,000% guaranteed. Here's why. I worked on the vendor side. If I have a store that has a cancel date, and I know they won't extend without maybe me giving them a discount or canceling, I ship those goods. If your order has no cancel date on it, I'll get to it. Just might not be as good. So start and cancel dates will be a huge, huge change in your business. And by the way, it's not punitive. It's just, hey, let's collaborate. Communicate with me. Tell me when things are going to be late. You have a budget. You buy goods to fill that budget. And if the goods are not coming, you have to readjust. This just happened. I guess there were some late deliveries on some goods. The problem with late deliveries is now, of course, the vendor wants to push it to the next month. But I know all of you all bought the pretty things for the next month too, right? And now you bring that, now one delivery's late, and now you've got 2, 3 collections coming in a month when you don't need that many. You don't have the bandwidth. It's not because this one collection's late, your customers be like, you know what? I won't come in this month, I'll come in next month and buy 3 bras. Right? They're gonna come in when they come in, you're gonna sell the heck out of them, and the problem is they're not gonna come back as fast as you want them to. Okay, those are all the pre-buying things. Now we are getting into selling. Now the goods have hit the floor, right? How many of you have model stock plans for your basic bras? Levels. There's my inventory queen. What's your name? Rebecca. All right, she's got the right answers. I like it. You want to get up here and teach this? So, your core bras, which drive your business, right, which you should be able to turn 10 times a year. How many units do you need on hand in a 36D? In black. How many units do you need in a 34C? Right? If you start to think about those core bras as a collection, and I'm not telling you that a 42K is a core bra. You might need one of those if you choose to have that. However, do you have 3, and therefore you have 3.5 years of supply? Okay? So, model stocks, that's one way. Again, we're talking about selling, right? That analysis that you're going to do, hopefully, when you get home, say, what did I sell in spring of 2019? Oh my gosh, this vendor continually, these collections sold through at 80%, at 90%. Maybe I didn't buy enough. Maybe the recolor for spring 2020, I should buy deeper. Maybe I was out of stock, you know what I mean, in core sizes after a week. And I called and I couldn't get back. So maybe let me buy a little deeper. Or let me place a reorder right away. You know, there's nothing to say that you can't get a reaction to a new collection and a reorder the next week. Do you? New vendors, new collections, what do they look like on the selling floor? It's not just monitoring what's selling. Do you have a process to monitor what's selling? What's your store look like? My entire lingerie bra fitting career started with a store out in Denver, and they have evolved. They sold way more basics when we started. They sell a lot more fashion bras. All of you, the business has changed, right? And there might even be an e-tailer here who will not raise their hand, but it's a function of your business today. So what do you look like in store, that selling phase? How do you merchandise your store to drive? What do your fashion collections look like when they come in? How do you market? The selling phase, right, it comes in. Now I have to tell people that it's in. You guys have done the analysis for your customers. You know what they bought this year. Now you have to tell your customers that it's in the store. So that's everything from what do I want to put on fixtures, right? We're coming up, we're getting directly into the fall season. Some of you may do folded presentations of PJs, gift giving, right? How do you plan for that? Have you planned for that? So when's your floor changeover going to be? How many units do you need to fill? I sold this amount of units last year in the first 2 weeks, and this year I tracked it and I sold 20% more. Let me react to selling. So it's managing through what you buy. That's that key phase. And do you have a process? Is it Monday morning? Is it Tuesday morning? Where you run a selling report from the week before and where you assess what's sold. That is a really good process to put in your head. Have a weekly process. Okay? Do you need to think about things like, how often do you change the windows? If you were on a main street and part of your rent expense is marketing, how often do you change your windows? I hope once a week, at least. If you're on a side street and you're like, I'm driving people with my marketing, fine. But the best thing you can do is change your windows and take pictures of it or video of it and put it on Instagram. And tell people that you've done something different and come by and see. So even if you're on a side street, change your front displays and put it on social media to get them to come in. I know there's going to be a social media conversation tomorrow. I could have 10 of them with you. We could all have a different view, right? You got to market and communicate to your customers that these new bras are in, right? How do you communicate with people? Besides your website, right? Mobile, text, whatever you do, there is no conversation about inventory that you can possibly not include marketing on. Because it comes in, I need to tell people it's coming in. Frankly, if you are really in tune with your customers right now, and you are at a trade show buying, and you have a good rapport on social media, you should be sending pictures of you being at a buying show being like, what do you think? Pre-order, immediate goods, could bring it in next week. That's the best response you can get, is to get them on the hook right now. Because you want to buy 12 pieces of this item and the response is amazing, and now you get pre-orders for 12 and you buy another 12 and you've done more sales. So, social media, email. Again, I could spend all day talking about this topic, but marketing has to be included. This new category that we talked about, 2020, that you're going to add, what's your marketing plan? Your customers, don't wait for the new goods to hit your store. I'm making this up. You are finally going to add bra-fitted swim. You can't wait. Your customers are clamoring for it. And the first time you tell them about it is the day the goods hit the store. That's 3 months too late. Build up the anticipation. Pre-sell those goods. All right, again, weekly review. Set it up. Is it a computer report that's generated that you're ready to look at? Right? Is it that you communicate that to your staff? I am a huge proponent. They are part of your success. What's the goal? Does everybody know, if you will, you guys are away. I had this conversation with all my clients. Like, you're away, if you will, while the cat's away, the mice will play. Versus, hey, we just came out of our sale. Let's communicate. Let's use this week to reconnect with customers, people that we met for the first time. Right? How do you monitor and make something happen on a weekly, daily basis? Get it? All right, now. We thought about it. We best laid plans. We can't wait. It came, we prepped it. We marketed it. Everybody was chomping at the bit. They couldn't wait for us to have it. We brought it in. It had the best spot on the floor. We had trunk shows. It was amazing. Well, amazing. They looked at it. They never bought it. Oh dear. It's the same thing. Do you monitor sell-through? So if that conversation we had earlier about getting to 80, and you've got collections that are sold through at 15% after 4 weeks, red flag. That's a problem, right? Something's not working. So how do you address liquidation? Do you have seasonal key items? Let's talk about swim, right? What's your drop dead date? I don't want you to be disadvantaged. I know somebody you think will buy it. I'm not as confident of that. I think I would rather you reinvest the money in something else. But the question is, I also don't want you to be disadvantaged. And with the internet today, you are disadvantaged if you don't take timely markdowns. Because your customers see what is on sale other places. So you have to monitor what people have at prices on the internet. Doesn't make it fair, doesn't make it right, it just is. So if you don't have a liquidation plan that is timely, you are disadvantaged. And I don't think your customers, maybe some of them will, if they're new customers that have never been to, hi, your goods are overpriced. Like, no one's gonna say that to you, but they're gonna think it. And then they're gonna walk out and go buy it online. Oh, I saw that on sale. Okay? So create a timeline for markdowns in advance. I want this fashion collection to be in and out in 12 to 14 weeks. That means I should sell, to get to 80%, I should sell 6% a week, 7% a week. The first 2 weeks I sold nothing. Gotta do more marketing, right? Gotta try, push it. But if I'm not there, what's the plan? Typically, I say markdowns are your friend. The expression in retail is your first markdown is your cheapest. A timely markdown in the right season will be the cheapest. How much is the Christmas sweater worth the day after Christmas? Like, at least 50% off, right? You might sell it at 25% off 10 days before Christmas. If you have the mentality that somebody's going to buy it at regular price, you're going to get stuck with it. And then you will get less for it. So plan to take your markdowns, determine your weekly sell-through goals, and you will be in a much better position. If a collection has sold through and you have odd sizes, you don't have sets, but it's just pieces, that's a 25% markdown, just a few to move. That means your customers liked it. If you sold through at 20 to 30% of the total collection, that's a deep markdown first. That's a third, that's 40%. Because what your customers are saying is, we didn't like it. And now we have our best friend. And I want you to embrace them like they are your best friend. Your sale customer. Yes. They will help you out of, and I know you all want regular price customers, I do too. But you know that a good sale customer can be converted down the road. Just court her, bring her in, give her, you know what I mean? Use your sale customers for when you need to. Okay, I finished. Look, by the way, I have to show you this. I put that slide up there to get that exact. People are like, free? What? I'm going to save time for questions, but I want you to know that analysis I was talking about, that stock to sales analysis, if you have a POS report and you can give me you can give me spring sales, right? Give me spring 19 sales from January to June. You can give me it by category, and you can give me the stock in the same numbers at retail. I'll do that analysis for you, and very quickly give you some high level, like here's where you are.